9 p.m. Call to order the meeting of the Civilian Appeal Board. Let's start with a roll call.
Russell Olmsted.
Here.
Jason Osborne.
Present.
Dean Pacific.
Here.
Michelle Williams.
Present.
Reginald Howard. Douglas Molesky. Jordan Cross.
All right, very good. Next order of business is the approval of the January meeting minutes. Has everyone had an opportunity to review those minutes? Okay. Does anyone have any amendments that they require? Something stands out to me. I'm a little confused regarding the appeal that was heard last month under allegations. Discourtesy, unprofessional conduct is listed as one of the allegations, but my recollection and understanding is that, and it was kind of a bit of controversy, is that wasn't actually one of the allegations. Am I interpreting this wrong?
I agree with what you're stating. I think the notes meant to capture the conversation around that, but I think it would be most appropriate to strike under allegations and findings discourtesy.
Do you have any thoughts about that?
Many thoughts, but I think it accurately reflects the information we were provided at the time.
Okay. I guess I'm kind of torn because I want to be part of the record that we had this issue come up. Right. But on the other hand, I don't think it's inaccurate to say that that was part of the allegations in the way that it shook out. So
I do think if you wanted to say something about it, that under the open session and questioning, it could be listed that a conversation was had regarding the fact that the discourteousness and unprofessional conduct that was included in the complaint was not listed as a finding for CAB to review. I think that would accurately reflect what occurred.
I am jotting down a bullet with the board's permission and said the conversation was had regarding discourtesy as included in the complaint and the fact that it was not included as a finding.
okay, and we'll strike the item 3 and bullet point 3 from the allegations internal affairs finding sections.
Done.
Okay. All right. Any other revisions or comments? Okay. Subject to those changes we just discussed, do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second?
Support.
All right. We'll just take a oral vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. All right. The next order of business is the board liaison report.
Okay. Not a whole lot to report today, but good afternoon. Happy February, everyone. Do want you to know that there are a few appeals in the hopper. There is, give me 1 second. There is appeal of CR 25-082. That appeal was filed in August. OPA did request materials in September 2nd. To be exact, we have not received materials. We are informed that those materials are being processed by the records unit. We'll continue to follow up, but that is pending. We also have appeal CR 25-076. That appeal was filed December of 2025. We requested materials in January, and we haven't received those materials yet either. However, that is a much more reasonable timeline in my opinion, so I'm not concerned about that.
You said the 082, the materials request in September?
Yes. Appeal file 829, materials requested September 2nd. And we are awaiting, I'll have my staff follow up again, but as of now, we haven't received the materials yet. They're still going through the records unit.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
Nothing else from me. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on then to the next order of business, which is old business. First item we have on the agenda is discussion regarding the policies that affect the Civilian Appeal Board, and I think Mr. Olmsted has some comments on that.
Thank you. So you have the packets in front of you of the recommendations around updating current policy, Board Policy 800-02. The policy that the board operates under was established back in 1996, and there hasn't really been a process, official process to review and from the city commission anyways, and from this board, a process of putting forward kind of updates, possible updates, and reviewing what that policy is, how it's worked, what the community may want now. And I know OPA has also led an effort in doing that. I believe you presented, I think OPA presented on this back in 2021 to the city commission. From the board's perspective, I just wanted to offer recommendations. I've been on the board for 6 years and wanted to offer recommendations from what I've seen in my time on this board, serving in different capacities within before being on this board, going through policing at the Speed of Trust program with the city, being a part of the session with OPA when OPA was first started, around a design session with OPA, intentions around looking at CAB as one of those aspects in re-envisioning or in looking at this policy to see what might be updated. And wanted to go through and spark, put in ideas that I have seen and touch points that have been problem areas in my experience on the board, touch points that community members have brought up at numerous community meetings over the last, since it's been established basically 30 years ago, touch points that they've seen as issues as well, and to look at the touch points that the community members may have brought up through the lens of my experience on the board, and how there might be bottlenecks or ways that we can improve. It's basically broken down into 7 issues that I think are currently could be around what the board does and how it operates, but then also a few recommendations around ideas in the process itself, from how the complaint process and funding for OPA can help possibly alleviate some of those stress areas and stress points that the board has seen over the years. So. I know that it's a lot of information that wasn't given a whole lot of notice for everybody to be able to read through. I realize that we may not be able to speak at depth about it at this meeting, but I want to ask if anybody has any questions about this sort of stuff. And I did not intend this in any way to be an official representation of a board's opinion on these matters. This was my suggestions in going through 800-02 and again, touch points and stress areas that I've seen in my experience. And, I would encourage and everyone to be able to not just address these, but if you have your own suggestions and everything, to put them forth so that we can get them to OPA, because I believe that this is going to be used as a portion not of guaranteeing that these are things that are going to be done, but possibly a portion of what recommendations individual members of the board have. Am I correct in that?
If I may? Mm-hmm. So just to remind, I'm glad that Labor Relations is actually present today. As a reminder of the way the process works, there is City Commission Policy 800-02, which does guide the way that this board operates. I think that was appropriately stated. Because our work involves both the police department and the fire department, there are also labor contracts that come into play whenever there's going to be changes to any policy that impacts that could impact discipline connected to them. So as a result of that, some of the things, just having briefly reviewed it today, there are several things that are in here that would be, that I would say would impact collective bargaining, and therefore would not be immediate changes, even if they were to be adopted at some point. There are other things that can be, are changes that can be made at the board's level or maybe at the commission level without bargaining, but that would take a much more in-depth analysis that would involve the Law Department, Labor Relations, OPA, and then eventually discussions with this board at the appropriate time. I think it's very appropriate to bring this forward so that those things can start being considered, but I want to make sure that there is that I'm real clear about the fact that I wouldn't anticipate
Yeah.
immediate changes or anything like that to come as a result of it.
Thank you. And that's a portion of the reason I know that some of the suggestions I have in here are going to, would affect collective bargaining. And that's something that takes time, if it is going to be addressed, to be able to put it into the thought process now, so that when the time comes for negotiating that, if it's something that's decided to move forward, that it's something that that there's time to be able to prepare for, from the city commission level, from the labor department, from the executive of the city, all of those, to try to give enough time, if it is something that there's a will to put forward, that it's not a last minute thing, because I believe that this past year was the first year of the new agreement in the labor. Yeah. So it would give some time now at kind of the beginning phases of the new labor agreement to be able to consider these things moving forward.
Yeah, just so I understand this correctly, I mean, as I read, I did have an opportunity to read this before coming in today. Probably not as thorough as I would like to have, but what I see here, especially if we're talking about proposals to the policy, I mean, this board has no authority to affect changes to the policy.
Correct.
We just operate under it. So is the intention then to, I guess it occurs to me, I'll put this more as a thought than a question, that a lot of these changes, which I on a personal level, I think are very compelling, very interesting. And I think what I'd like to see, and I don't think there's anything for the board to do, but certainly in the general sense, I would like to see these incorporated into like a proposed amended policy. Is that what the intention is here, or is OPA working on something like this?
No. So it is the board. So there's several things that happen. The way we've done it previously is the board has said, hey, here are some things that we're interested in. Mm-hmm. Those are things that I can convey to labor relations or to the city manager, and those can be discussed at the appropriate time when those things, come up as subjects of bargaining or can come up as subjects of bargaining. The board also would have the discretion to say, hey, here are our recommendations that we formally want to make. Mm-hmm. And we'd like to propose these recommendations to be considered at, the appropriate time. But OPA is not bringing forward at this time a list of recommendations. With that being said, there are times where community members bring stuff to us, and if they do, we share that appropriately.
The only other thing that I would add as well, going off of what the chair just said, there may be, I'm certain that there are going to be things within these recommendations that we aren't going to agree on, either in scope or possibly that not all the members are going to agree on scope, or possibly in how it is iterated in my putting it forward. But I would like to see board members perhaps forming a formal subcommittee, if necessary, to be able to consider formal recommendations to the City Commission around ways that we can improve this board. The reason being, again, it has been since 1996 that this board has been really thoroughly reviewed from a standpoint. I shouldn't say thoroughly reviewed, but that the board has ever put any forth an effort that I don't know of one that I can find anywhere, that the board itself has put forth its own expertise and its own experience forward in what it believes are the problem areas, or I shouldn't say problem areas, or areas that, again, are problematic, I guess, in their experience through the cases or through training, or perhaps limitations that they would not like to see. One of the main ones of this for me is the official, like making it an official recommendation from the board. There are numerous times throughout the process that we have reviewed cases that even though there are no violations of policy, board members have expressed, yes, this is technically okay, but by policy, but should we possibly review what this is to create better outcomes? And having the voice of this board, because of the unique place that it holds, I think could work in favor for the City Commission to help them with that process. because they don't have the same experience that we do, as well as from a community perspective and from a police perspective in helping all phases of what this board really has touch points on, which is around policy, practice, procedure of the Grand Rapids Police Department, and trying to look at it from a community point of view of accountability and transparency, and looking at these cases when there is an appeal before us. So I think that there's opportunity here, even if we may not agree with all these when we have time to look them over, or opportunity for other board members' ideas to come forward into this process, so that we can have an informed consensus within the board of a real list of recommendations that could be put forward to the city commission, especially at this point, again, because we are at the beginning of the labor relations process, as I just said, at the beginning of the new labor agreement, and this is going to take time for the board to go through and the time for the city to process as well. And I don't want to see this wait until the last minute and not be able to put forth recommendations because there's already labor negotiations happening. So.
Any other thoughts?
I haven't had a chance.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll say, Russell, I appreciate the incredible amount of effort that's gone into this. I look forward to reading it more in depth and discussing it further.
Thank you.
All right, next item, this isn't listed on the agenda, but I have another item of old business, and that pertains to the draft of the letter from the board, which is to be included with our annual report. I believe it's still in subcommittee right now, and my understanding is that the subcommittee was desiring to have a review of the draft before finalizing their letter and presenting it to this board. So is that something that is still in the works? That's something that can happen within the next few weeks here before our next month's meeting?
Can you help me better I'm not following what you're saying.
Sure. So we have an annual report that we put
Right.
every year, every 2 years. Portion of that is a letter from the board itself. We've sent this letter, I think there's a draft of it that's been circulated and has been reviewed by a subcommittee. That subcommittee, as I understand it, has, before they finalize that draft to present to the board for a vote, would like to review a draft of the complete report.
Oh,
to
of the
ensure
full
that-
report.
That the letter
Got it.
matches and is consistent with that report.
Oh, that's the part I was missing, the draft for the full report part.
Sure.
Nick.
Thank you.
At our December 17th meeting, I think it was 17th, we discussed the fact that we don't want to vote twice. So just add that.
That's correct. And one of the things we were waiting on in a large portion of that report is the police internal affairs statistics. We do all of our graphs and our analysis for that report based off of those statistics. And I've been waiting for quite a bit of time to get those. I still don't have them. So as soon as I get those statistics from internal affairs, I can start analyzing and making graphs and proceeding with the building of that report. I've done a lot of the narrative portions of it. I was working with Mr. Osborne to do the chairperson's letter, and of course the board was working on their portion of the letter. But until I get those stats, I can't do a whole lot with that report.
Okay.
Here's what we can commit, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, so the narrative portion is basically a summary of the appeals that have been heard over the reporting period, but it sounds like a substantial portion of the report is the analysis of the statistical data, which you're still waiting on. Let me turn to the members of the subcommittee. I imagine you're going to want that statistical information and the analysis as part of your final review. Okay.
So here's what we can commit to do. We will send a communication before the end of this week, following up on our requests for that data as well as the requests related to those two appeals that we discussed previously, just to make sure it's still churning. I would assume that it is, but, we'll do that just to make sure. Outside of that, though, we're waiting until we receive it.
Okay. Can we just have just an ongoing item on our old business on the agendas moving forward, just we can revisit it and just like a touch base reminder? I mean, I'm not intending to harp on anyone, but I want to make sure that it's still in the forefront of our mind.
Sure.
Each month. All right.
if you're done with that, there was one other item that just popped into my head too.
Sure. Well, let me just see any other discussion about this item of old business I just sprung on everyone. All right. Seeing none, is there any other old business?
The only other old business was, I can't remember which meeting it was now, but I put forth a couple of bylaw ideas for the commission or for this body to look at. And I would like to make sure that on the next meeting, if we could have something put on the agenda around us discussing that, those bylaw changes. I sent them all to the board members, but I can resend as well, so that we have an opportunity to look at those ideas for bylaw changes for the board.
You know, just for the sake of my own laziness, having to dig through my old emails,
Yeah.
if you're able to resend it,
Yeah.
please do. And I would like to add that as an item to old business for next month's agenda as well.
So on the list, I have a bylaws discussion and an update regarding the annual report. That's old business.
Correct. Yep.
Thank you.
Okay.
Jason, I have in my notes that you were going to present one of our letters to the commission.
That's right. We put together a letter here last year, and I have not made that opportunity for myself yet. I am cognizant of it. That is on my list of action items here after we leave here today.
Thank you.
You can even see I wrote it down. All right. Any other old business? All right. Seeing none, our next next item is open discussion. Does anybody have anything they wish to discuss at all?
Time.
All right. Seeing none, open up to public comment. We have some people in the crowd today. Anyone wish to make any comments to this board? Now is your chance. We're not taking phone calls. Nope. I think it's,
Sunny Gant Jordan. And yes, I did receive an email to be here today, and I'm just very confused as to what's going on with this Civilians Appeals Board. I'm very concerned as to why I was asked to be here, and been waiting for the last 2 hours just to, I feel like I was invited here. I know I put in an application for the board. I know there's some concerns around me being here, and that's very confusing to me and concerning. So I just want to make that publicly known. Thank you.
okay, well, let's delve into this. Do you have any idea, our board liaison, who this person is and why she's asked to be here today?
Sure. I did speak to her before the meeting to inform her of what occurred. Short version is, application was placed in. Staff was aware of the fact that the application was placed and added the name as if they had already been added to the board as opposed to just placed. It was a mistake by staff. I explained that to Ms. Gant Jordan. It shouldn't have occurred, but that's what happened. And our apologies that occurred. But I believe, I'll just say it, Mr. Dirac was trying to be proactive to make sure that he didn't miss a new board member and made a mistake. I'll add that he does not normally send out those notices. Our assistant, who is out ill, sends them out. So he was jumping in, used the old email to make sure that he was sending to the board, had all the people on it, saw what he thought was a missing name, added the name, and then told me he added the name, and I said that was wrong. So all of those things happened very quickly today. Our apologies that it occurred. It was Mr. Dirac tried to be proactive and unfortunately made the wrong call there.
Well, Ms. Gant Jordan, let me just reiterate then on behalf of the board, and I apologize for taking up your time today. If I'm understanding correctly, you're applying for membership to the board. I hope that goes well. We certainly would love to have your assistance and any assistance of any citizen who is interested in serving the community. So once again, I apologize that you had to come down here and take up your time for no purpose whatsoever. I hope the explanation cleared up some confusion that was going on, and hopefully something like this doesn't happen again. All right. Any other public comment? Seeing none, that brings us to our last item, which is adjournment. Thank you, everyone, for being here today and your hard work. We'll see you next month.